after the confirmation of Khamenei's death, seeing the people inside Iran have joy and dance in the streets after so many weeks of just, crying and looking at body bags. And that was such a joy to watch, because it feels so nice to see some relief.
Can you introduce us to the guy who pays your parking tickets? Because
the war actually on the people started when the regime attacked the people in Iran, when people were out on the streets protesting and they were killed.
There is a river or a sea of blood between us and them.
when you're pushing to a certain point, it's like, okay, so you actually prefer the regime to stay for all of these reasons that you've listed, and then I'm not sure there's any conversation left to have. Hi there. The war is changing us. For Iranians around the world, the war is changing us. During the last 4 months, many of us have been living with Iran in our hands, not metaphorically, literally in our sights, on our phones, in our feeds, in our mornings, in our nights. Many of you know exactly what I'm talking about. And this didn't begin at the end of February with Trump and bombs. This phase of what we are living through began earlier, with the massacre of young Iranians when millions took to the streets to be free. January 8th and 9th changed all of us permanently. And even that wasn't the start. Iranians have been living in a war for 47 years. And let's be clear about something amid our tears. Nothing that is said here compares to what people inside Iran are enduring. That is the front line. That is where lives are being lost. That is where the real trauma is the real cost. But nor can we say that the rest of us have simply been watching. That's not quite right either, because something has been happening to us too. The war is changing us. It is something we are going through. We wake up and reach for updates before we even reach for ourselves. We scroll through footage we cannot unsee. We follow every rumor, every video, every voice note, trying to piece together what is being seen, what it might mean. We ride waves of hope, real hope, and then sometimes within hours feel those waves collapse into confusion, anger, or silence. We feel that sickness in our bodies when things are not as they seem, when we realize the person we thought was our friend is trafficking for the regime. We understand it in the enmity and intra-community attacks we see. How dare you fly that flag or support Pahlavi? The war is changing us. It is changing how we speak to each other, how quickly we react, how easily we are triggered at hand, how often we assume the worst of people we used to understand. Friendships have been strained, families have argued, communities that once felt united now feel more fragile, more tense, more uncertain. And beneath all of it, there's a kind of exhaustion that is hard to explain because it is not coming from one moment, but from the accumulation of all of them. And that's important because the way we are changing is not incidental, it is consequential. It will shape the kind of community we become in the middle of this. Oh, this is a real opportunity because we also have moments of Iranian unity and true exhilaration. There are times when we can imagine and taste a future with eager anticipation. The war is changing us. And if that is the case, then the question is not whether we feel it. The question is whether we let that change dull us or define us, whether it pushes us into fatigue and silence or forces a kind of clarity that refuses to look away from the regime's violence. And that reality, the plight of those inside Iran, demands something from the rest of us. A refusal to become numb, a refusal to succumb. The war is changing us. It has already changed us. The question now is whether we allow that change to settle into quiet resignation or a fully committed elevation. It's April 23, 2026. This is Roqe. Hi there, how are you? Welcome to episode 433 of Roqe, Iran Rises. I'm Jian Ghomeshi. Hello to you from Toronto, Canada. Salam Dustan Aziz Durud Bar Shama. I hope you are doing okay wherever you are tuning in from around the world. This is the 29th episode in our Iran Rises series. This one entitled How This War is Changing Us. And once again, events inside Iran and around the Iranian diaspora are moving at a breakneck speed. I don't need to tell you that. You know, from hour to hour, there's different news about a ceasefire, about a war, about Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi being hit by a projectile from a protester, something about a Berlin rally. There's a lot going on. We should note that we are recording this episode at approximately 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time here in Toronto on this Thursday, April 23rd. That's around midnight in Iran. So as always, we're sharing perspectives and conversations as up to date as humanly possible. Now, if you appreciate our independent programming and you want to support us, you can always become a regular patron by following the Support Us instructions on our website at roqemedia.com, or by giving us a one-time donation, and you can do so on YouTube. If you're on YouTube watching us, or if you're on a podcast platform and you want to switch over to YouTube and watch this program, you can just go to the button on YouTube that says Super Thanks. Is that what it says? I always forget this. Super Thanks. Just press the Super Thanks button and you can donate to what we do here at Roqe. We stay defiantly independent. We're not beholden to any financiers or parties or investors, so your help is always appreciated. Now, coming up on this 433rd edition of Roqe, over the last 4 months, the focus has rightly and necessarily been on those inside Iran, on those facing the full weight of a regime that has stolen once again its capacity for, has shown rather, once again its capacity for brutality, from the massacres in January to the ongoing repression and now the added reality of a war. Nothing in this conversation should diminish that. Nothing in this conversation should compete with that. But to say the rest of us have simply been watching from a distance would also not be accurate, because for many in the diaspora, this has not been a passive experience. It has been immersive, relentless, at times overwhelming. It has shaped how we wake up in the morning, how we move through our days, what we pay attention to, and how we relate to one another. It's created moments of collective hope and exhilaration, and just as quickly moments of deflation, division, emotional fatigue. So, on this episode, without turning away from Iran, we want to turn the lens slightly toward ourselves in the diaspora to ask how a period defined by violence and resistance and uncertainty has also reshaped the lives of those of us living far from the front lines, but not untouched by what is unfolding. Joining me are three voices who have been navigating this both publicly and personally, each from a different corner of the diaspora, each bringing a different lens to the same question: how is this war changing us? Let's get to it. All right, let me tell you about Stellar Law. Today's episode of Roqe is brought to you in part by Stellar Law. Stellar Law is a boutique litigation firm based in Toronto, founded and led by Rana Nosrat Panoh. The firm represents businesses and professionals in commercial and contractual disputes, particularly where relationships have broken down and the consequences are significant. Stellar Law's practice is grounded in careful analysis and strategic decision-making. Much of the work involves contract disputes, shareholder conflicts, and complex business disagreements that require both legal precision and practical judgment. Rana and her team are known for approaching these matters with clarity, focus, and a deep understanding of what's at stake for their clients. For those navigating serious disputes with real commercial impact, check out Stellar Law at stellarlaw.ca. stellarlaw.ca. Thanks again to Rana Nosrat and the team at Stellar Law. And if you are Iranian, do note that Stellar Law operates in both English and Persian if you prefer to deal in Persian. All right, Avoca Chocolates. This episode of Roqe is brought to you with the support of Avoca Chocolates. Avoca. So in the last few weeks, I've been telling you how grateful we are that this small, non-Iranian company in Toronto has stepped up to support Iranians in this time. Noni Fembi and her staff at Avoca have been making handmade artisanal chocolate in Toronto for over 30 years. Family owned and operated, they have dedicated themselves to the art of making delicious treats, including truffles and ice cream and gelato, made without compromise. Avoca has focused on high-quality ingredients with fair trade chocolate, all made fresh daily in one of their 2 locations in East Toronto. If you are in the Toronto area, If you want to visit Toronto, go visit one of their great chocolate shops and thank them for their support. Avoca. And taste their delicious handmade chocolates when you're there. If you cannot go in person, you can get their chocolates and products online at avocachocolates.com. Avocachocolates.com. Thank you again, Avoca. All right, let's get to our panel. Joining us from Vancouver, she is a member of the Lion and Sun organization, one of the organizers of the massive rallies that we've been seeing on a regular basis in Vancouver over the last couple of months. She is committed to establishing a secular democracy based on the separation of religion and state and upholding the right of Iranian people to determine their future, political future, through free and democratic mechanisms. Sadaf Yasini joins us from the West Coast. Joining us from Los Angeles, she's an Iranian-Canadian actress, model, and human rights campaigner who was born in Iran, grew up in Canada after a harrowing stint in Turkey. She has starred in all kinds of major films and TV series in the U.S. and around the world. And in recent years, and of course in the last 4 months, she has been using her significant online presence to increase awareness about the ongoing uprising in Iran. She has attended demonstrations, spoken at rallies, and hosted major events during the revolution. Shiva Negar is back on Roqe, and she is a singer, songwriter, performer, and recording artist who has gained a huge global following for her pop songs and her contributions to the soundtrack to the popular Shahrazad TV series. But also, she has had quite a story of fighting the odds to be a female singer inside Iran and staying true to her passions when everyone told her to give up. She's been very active in recent months in solidarity with those inside Iran, turning up on stages at our rallies, recording songs that have at times become anthems of a revolution. Satin is joining us from Toronto. Hello to you all.
Hi there.
Hello.
Hi there.
Nice to see you again.
Nice to have you all on the program. The name of this episode is "How is the War Changing You?" And of course, we know the people most affected by this war are inside Iran, but it has had no small effect on those of us in the diaspora, partly feeling the anxiety for those inside Iran. So I thought I'd start with just a general question, and you can answer this however you want, and then we'll get more granular, we'll get more specific. If I were to say, how is the war changing you, what would you say, Shiva?
On a personal level, honestly, I think there was a time when the massacre had just happened. And I ask this question of myself every day this year, who am I anymore? I don't recognize myself because I've really changed, that this has really changed me significantly. But one of the main things that happened to me is the closest thing we have is our phone. And I was going through so much footage and so many videos of horrifying things that happened during those 2 days, January 8th and 9th in Iran. And there was a time, Jian, that I would close my eyes, and this is something you see in the movies, and I would just see dead bodies and corpses. I guess it was some form of PTSD, you could say, in a way, but I couldn't sleep for weeks. I couldn't, the second I would shut my eyes, it was like these horrifying images just going through my brain. And all I could think was, I'm here, I'm in the diaspora, and the closest thing I have to these people is my phone, and to be able to speak up for them and amplify their voices. And I'm seeing things through the screen. So if I'm going through something like that, then what are they experiencing when they're on the street and they're seeing bodies dropped in front of them, and these families that are going to seeing all these body bags, and they had to go through hundreds of body bags in order to be able to find their loved ones. So for what I experience is really nothing compared to what they're experiencing, but this is clearly affecting all of us. And
But
this
how,
was the
how would you characterize that in changing you?
I guess I've become a lot stronger, to be honest. And another thing is I've been very disappointed as well. It's changed me because it opened my eyes. It's been a very eye-opening experience. Not just the experience of what happened, but also other people and how they handled it. And I realized a huge thing, and that was the people, a lot of people are not supportive of causes necessarily because, and I'm talking about people around me, of course, and not everyone, but some people are not really supporting the cause because of their love for humanity, but because it fits their hate and their narrative.
Hmm.
So that really changed me a lot, and I had to take a step back and sort of realize that the type of people that I have and that I'm dealing with.
Satin, if do you believe that this war is changing you this last 4 months, and if so, how? What's one way in which it is?
Yeah, so it's changed me a great deal, both in my personal life and my work area. I'm questioning a lot of things these days, Gian, as we've spoke before. I'm questioning my personal choices in life, like since I actually like entered the real world. I'm questioning my relationship with people. I've been so disappointed in seeing so many people that were two-faced, or like I don't know what label I could put on them, but I've been really disappointed in many people, and I'm questioning a lot of things. I mean, the funny thing is that I've been struggling with this conflict of the country that I was born in and raised in, and the regime or the religion, or all the people that were actually ruling it. Ever since I remember, I was always in conflict with the place that I was born in, and my own personality and my own taste in life and music and everything. And it was like, um, I don't know if I think I'm not sure if any of you were actually raised in Iran, but everything that I remember was that, like, they used to brainwash us, and that at some point that breaks you. You question a lot of things in your life. And so, but the interesting thing, because I always try to put out the positivity out of the situations, the thing that has fascinated me a lot is that next to all the things that I'm questioning, next to all the negativities, next to all the struggles, next to all the pressure that we're all under, I'm really happy that I finally found the answer. I finally found what the problem was. I finally found out that it was not my split of personality. It was not me. It was it was the fact that I always knew that something was wrong. Maybe I couldn't know what it was at the time, but now I'm really happy to see that millions of Iranians have come to this conclusion that we do not want a religious country. We do not recognize Islam or the Islamic Republic as the regime that we want to rule in our country. But back to your question, that what has I mean, how has it like changed me
Well,
personally? It has
you've
changed.
actually let me just stop you there because you've said a lot, and I
Yeah.
actually want to come back to, because both you and Shiva now have talked about disappointment and interpersonal relationships. Let's come back to that. But just something you said there that was quite profound, especially coming from someone like you who's been quite successful, in certainly in moments in your pop career, in your music career. You said, "I've questioned my life choices." What were you thinking of when you said that?
So I no longer feel like I'm the happy pop singer. I no longer feel like I can do that. I no longer want to spread lie to my people. That has changed greatly in me. I I mean, the old Satin is dead. And I don't mean it in a negative way. I don't mean it in a bad way. I mean it like it's as if the caterpillar has turned into the butterfly. Um, that's one. Another is that, I always used to have arguments with my own father over the control of the TV. It was always like following the politic news and everything. And now I have changed and turned into a person that these days, I'm actually telling my father how the politics is going on. I'm actually like, decoding what Trump said and what the regime is doing. I'm actually like, giving pointers to my own father,
Mm.
who's been like following the news for more than 30 years and has been opposed to this regime. So
Wow.
Uh,
Well,
and the other
thank you
thing,
for. I mean, that's tremendous honesty on your part, and thank you for that candor. Let me come back to some of what you said. Let's just bring Sadaf in here. Um, Sadaf, well, let me start with the question I've asked everybody, and the opening sort of question is, how is this war changing you, if it is changing you?
I can definitely relate to what Shiva and Satin said, because I think it resonates so deeply, because I think collectively as a group, we're going through all of this together. Like all these experiences, all these emotions that we go through, yes, some might feel it less, or some might withdraw a little bit, but some might be more vocal about it. But I think together as a community, we're going through all of this together, and these roller coaster of emotions is a shared experience for sure. Um, I think that I'm not the person that I used to be maybe 4 months ago. Like I was always interested in politics, like I was always involved, but this amount of involvement, or this amount of workload that I have on my plate right now, is something that I had never imagined in my life, and that has definitely impacted all aspects of my life, my relationships, my work, my school, like everything. So basically, I think we are physically present in our environment. Like we go to work, we talk to people, but it's like it just feels like emotionally we're not there. Like I feel this disconnect between myself and my surroundings. Like it's that time of the year in Vancouver where all the cherry blossoms are out. And the moment I got to Vancouver like 8 years ago, this was always so fascinating to me. And oh, sorry, I think I got disconnected.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, this was something that I would always look forward to. Springtime, like even Nowruz or something like that. So I think now I don't look forward to anything
Hmm.
other than knowing what's going to happen in Iran. Like I'm blind to whatever is happening around me. Nothing
It's
fascinates me anymore. Like nothing is interesting. Like even going to a party or something, it just doesn't feel the same anymore. But to finish,
that so resonates for me. That so resonates for me because in the sense that I'm feeling exactly the same thing where I'll notice something like, oh, it's the Stanley Cup playoff. Oh, Coachella happened, or this person released an album, and I didn't even notice. I mean, I'm so out of it. I'm so hyper focused and anxiety ridden about one thing that I hear that sort of bubble around. I mean, fortunately, I'm in a place in Toronto. Satin and I are both in a place where there's a lot of other people experiencing that in terms of the huge Iranian community here, as there is in Vancouver, as there is in LA. I can only imagine if you're in Kentucky or something, or you're somewhere in the middle of Europe and you don't have that community around you, how that can feel quite isolating. Sadaf, sorry to cut you off. Let me bring this around to some of the things that you guys have said, and see if we can be really honest about this, if you can. I mean, let's first talk about interpersonal relationships. How have the last 4 months affected or changed your closest relationships? And I can out myself as saying that it has affected some of my relationships in ways that I never would have expected. And this is friends, family, close people, associates, sometimes in very negative ways in terms of not even being able to speak to someone anymore. Talk to me about that. How has that changed for you, Satin?
oh, I've unfollowed a lot of people on social media and followed a lot of new interesting people, and that has happened in my, like close relationship with people as well. I mean, I'm hanging out with more of the people of my own kind, more of the people of our perspective, and the people who chose humanity instead of the other way. So yeah, I could like proudly say that without any regret, I have deleted those people from my both like life in
And
like
is
personal
there a
life.
litmus test for you? Is there something that that this represents crossing the line, or is it, as opposed to let me have a conversation with this person and try and save this relationship before I delete them?
Listen, Jean, these days, you don't really need to spend a lot of time talking to people because I think things are pretty clear. I think it's pretty clear the path that people have chosen. And to talk about it as more discussions that I'm not interested. I mean, these days my patience is so little that I don't know if our friends know or not. I have a 2-year old and she started talking and like climbing the wall and everything, like literally, I'm not joking.
Hmm.
And so my my limit of patience has like come lower and lower. And I rather spend that time with the people that I respect and have the same opinion, following something you need to know about my personal mentality, my personal like I don't know how to say, like
Psychology.
my brain works in a way that it automatically cancels and deletes every negativity. So also don't have a good memory of all the arguments or like the negative happenings in my past. So I think that is valid in my like present as well. Like,
Sadaf,
yeah.
personal relationships.
Um, Again, I think we've all experienced it online and offline. I think online we have realized that not many people that we thought we were close with are not necessarily of the same mind, or people we've hung out with, people we've known for years. But when you see this difference, like naturally I think you withdraw. I mean, we might go to an extent to unfollow them, but it really depends. I mean, sometimes it's people you've known for years, so it's really difficult to just suddenly cut them off. I don't know, maybe like I've just tried muting them or giving them a second chance
Can
before
you give
unfollowing them.
can you give an example of that without saying the person's name? Obviously, you don't need to do that, but give an example of somebody that you knew for years and something that they've done that has just led you to say, "That's it. I'm changing." And presumably, if they're Iranian as well, that is germane to our conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to talk about my Iranian like family and friends, and then I think it's a different matter with non-Iranians. With the Iranians, well, I think when it started, there were different, like most people that I knew, or most people that I thought would be for this cause, would be pro-war, and they'll be excited about new future, and they would they'll be able to see past this war and what's going to happen afterwards. But then I realized that this is not the same for everybody. Like they try to see the other side of things, and I try to respect that. But then again, like what Satin said, your patience runs thin. I think if they try to hold the ground or a middle ground, that's one thing. But to clearly mention that, like, I don't know, Trump is attacking us or this is attack against the people, like, I don't know, all the infrastructure they worry about and all of that. I mean, it just gets to a point where you realize, okay, this is not going to change for them. Like, all these past events, like it's not going to change anything in their mind. And if you want to try to argue with them, it's just for in my opinion, I think it gets to a point where you feel like, okay, I'm just wasting my time. I rather spend time with people who are like-minded, and we can collectively put our minds together to do something productive.
And
Why do
is
I
that
want to waste
is
my
that something
time?
that's changed in you? In other words, are you less tolerant, let's say, of somebody who exhibits who's softer on the regime or even pro-regime than you would have been 5 months ago?
Oh, yes, for sure.
Hmm.
Definitely. And I think with my non-Iranian friends, that's like a whole different story because these are people I've been friends with for a long time, but and many of them are actually Americans, and I just I run out of words. Like I feel like when on 16 day when the massacre happened, none of them reached out to me to ask how my family is. But then once the war started, they reached out and were like, "Oh, I hope your family's okay." And I was like, "Hey, where were you 2 months ago?"
Mm.
Like the war actually on the people started when the regime attacked the people in Iran, when people were out on the streets protesting and they were killed. So that's the time you should have asked.
Yeah.
But not now. Like now I don't worry about their safety as long as they're in a safe place and they're not the target actually, because the target is the regime. So it just frustrated me a lot, but again, I don't know, like a lot of times you feel like, okay, maybe I should explain a little bit more, but sometimes you feel like if they can't, if they suffer from the Trump
Mhm.
derangement syndrome, there's no point in arguing with them.
Shiva, let me bring you in. I mean, you and I have known each other a long time, like a couple of decades, and there's people that we've both known for 20 years that I now think, well, can I be friends with this person? I mean, if you zoom out, this is a pretty major shakeup, let alone the major epic and horrific nature of the massacre that took place inside Iran and the subsequent events. For us all around the world to be actually adjudicating or making decisions around who we continue to be friends with, or family members we're going to speak to or not speak to, it's pretty major. And while I applaud the strength of both Sadaf and Satin saying, I just cut this person out, etc., and I understand it, it's kind of sad at the same time as well that these rifts are taking place because they're within our community too, right? Talk to me about your experience.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to piggyback on something Satin said earlier about the previous topic. I was the type of person as an artist who used to just wake up and meditate and not choose news to get in my head until I chose the time that I wanted to, process the world news. And I was the most positive person. And I used to just do my thing and want to focus on telling stories and doing my acting career. And now here I am waking up from the first second, just chasing what's going on. And I feel like what I'm doing now is so much bigger than myself, than what I was doing before. And I'm, sort of using my voice, which is impacting the world. But to answer your question, Jian, this is what I was trying to say. It's been such an eye-opening experience, especially this year since January 8th and 9th, because it's very different, this movement and this revolution, than the woman life freedom movement. When that happened, I feel like it was a little more mixed and everyone was in it together, and it didn't quite have a clear path, but all everyone was doing was fighting for the freedom of the people of Iran, and the girls who were risking their lives. And there was a blurred line between a few who are not quite getting behind the movement today. And that line is clear now.
Mhm.
And it's been very clear to me. And that's where the separation was with me and a few others. So I want to say there are a few Iranians who couldn't get behind this revolution, who couldn't get behind the crown prince to be the transitional leader. And those are the people that, not that I cut them off. I mean, I did cut one off and I unfollowed because she did something directly to me, which we don't need to get into. Uh, but the rest of them, I've accepted them as who they are, and I know where they stand, and that I can't stand where they are. So I've accepted that. But at the same time, some of my social circle has changed, and it's more of the people, and I'm talking about the Iranian diaspora, who get it and who can be supportive, who really want uh, the people of Iran to be liberated, and who understand that we needed the foreign intervention, who understand that we needed these targeted military strikes from US and Israel. So I appreciate having those people who I was not close to before all this happened. And now I have them and I talk to them on a regular basis now, and we're good friends because they are so supportive and they're exactly moving towards the same direction we all are, because we're all trying to amplify the voices of people inside Iran. Um, and as to my non-Iranian friends, Jian, obviously I have a few of my core very, very close friends who actually trust me and listen to me when I tell them about my experience, my lived experience in Iran and my knowledge. But there are others, just like Sadaf said, that for since January when this happened, and I've been very vocal about it. They all have me on social media. They all see what I post, but not even one word. And the second we had the first strike by US, I get messages, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? It's like, what?
Mm.
Where have you been? Where were you this whole past couple months? Are you okay? We just had the biggest modern day massacre by the Islamic regime to its own people, to Iranians. And you're telling me if I'm okay now? Of course I'm okay now. I'm better now because there's more hope that they're going to be liberated. And so that's been happening a lot. And even when the Minop school happened, was another thing. Even though that's still being investigated, I had some of these people who posted about it right away. Trump did this. Okay, so listen, it's very tragic. You want to talk about that? Go ahead. Yes, we want to address everything, every tragedy. But two things can be true. You can also talk about the massacre. So if you are educated enough and you are seeing the news coming out of Iran, then you're not too far away. If you are in United States of America and you're seeing that, then you're also seeing the massacre, are you not? So why are you staying silent on one and just being selective? So that opened my eyes and I realized these people, some of these people are not doing it out of love for humanity and they consider themselves activists and humanitarian. Meanwhile, they're only doing it out of hate for the president or hate for Israel or the anti-West, and only they speak up when it fits that narrative. So they stay silent on.
Let me ask you about when you said that there's some people that aren't on side or you don't agree with or they don't agree with you, but you haven't unfollowed them. They're just sort of there, and you're just to inject my own personal one way I guess I've changed in recent months, in the same way that many of you guys, the way you guys are all talking in terms of being more hardcore about what I'll let in, what I won't. I remember having this moment where, there's one thing where there's these acts of where people say things that you directly disagree with, and then there's the silence of some, and the silence. I've said this from the beginning. I mean, I've been saying this for months on almost every episode of Roqe. I say, look, if you never posted in social media before, if you're not really an active person, if you're not somebody who speaks out or does anything, I'm not going to blame you for not suddenly jumping on Twitter or Instagram and leading the revolution. But if you're someone who always posts and you're always saying something and you always have an opinion and you're always putting yourself out there, and suddenly you've said nothing, this was like, say, in January and February, about anything that's happened in Iran, then to me, I had this moment where me, the person who likes to think that I'll accept anybody of any opinion, I can't believe you don't like the Beatles, or, you're not an Arsenal fan, or how dare you say that about somebody that I like, or something like that. Even political issues, I like to think I'm on friends with people on different political sides of the spectrum, and I'm a journalist. I had this moment where I thought, why am I friends with you? Why, if I'm this invested in this, if this means this much to me and those I love around me, that we're spending 24/7 on this and desperately worried about the people in Iran, and you haven't said anything for 2 or 3 months, we clearly are not aligned in terms of our interests. Now, I don't know what I'm supposed to do at that point. I really don't. Am I supposed to say, I'm canceling you, which I don't know if I feel comfortable with that, or do I say, I'll just never speak to this person, or I'll avoid them, and maybe I'll, somewhat say a timid hello if I see them in public, or do I say, let me engage with them and find out why they're not speaking, and then get into a debate, which doesn't seem to lead anywhere. So, Satin, does what I'm saying resonate for you?
Well, your position and your area of expertise is way different than mine, per se. So, because of being a journalist, you may have to, stand some people I'm just assuming, so I
But
don't know.
you
That's
don't. You're just like, that's it. Cut them
It's
out.
just that, my attitude towards difficulties has always been to cancel them. I mean, I don't care. I don't care about people, situations, places, whatever. Anything that puts negativity to me, I just easily cancel them. But hey, that's just my attitude and my
Mm.
personality. But I totally understand why you are in such dilemma. And I think you're being professional. I don't think that questions your integrity or your way of thinking. I think you're being just a professional journalist, such as like all the other people who don't take sides. I mean, like all the journalists or TV talk show hosts. I'm not talking about Jimmy Kimmel per se, but others who don't put their own perspective or way of thinking into their work. And I admire you for that. But
I wouldn't say I'm not taking sides. I mean, I've been pretty clear about the sides, but yeah, but I
I
know
mean,
what you
in
mean.
your
Yeah.
personal life, well, how people deal with dilemmas and these kinds of situations, because this is a very sensitive thing that we are talking about. It's
Mm.
a very sensitive time. I have to note that those people that I told you that I like unfollowed or canceled from my life, they were not like family members or relatives per se. They were like some people that I knew, like mostly related to my work area and everything. I mean, like I've unfollowed like two, three artists, but not just because they were like silent or they were like in a gray area. It was mostly because they openly made fun of our chosen leader or they took side. And I would love to quote what Dr. Vacy, who we all know and love these days, I'd like to quote him. He says that there is a river or a sea of blood between us and them. And I think it's pretty clear the path that they've chosen, the path that we've chosen, and it puts a mark on those people. Because we all know that these days will finish and get over, and we all know that, and it ends with the regime being defeated. I'm not, I don't want to say 100% what I think about after that. I can only like express my hopes and wishes, but we all know that this regime is going to collapse.
Satin,
But
when you, I mean, all three of you have talked about how you've become more politicized in different ways over the last 4 months. Satin, it's a big step for you to, I mean, at least publicly, to be saying the things you've said today. I'm no longer happy Satin pop songs. I want to, and this is who I've become. And that was a great story that you told about how the change between you and your father, etc. Have you
yeah.
had people in your life say to you, stop, don't be so political, you're ruining the career you had, or they're doing, step back a little bit, or warning you that this is too much or anything like that?
Well, I've chosen enough good people in my life that they all have the same feeling and the same thoughts of me, and same attitude towards the things that no, they're all admiring my way of thinking. I mean, my husband like keeps telling me that, okay, hold on, don't rush into deciding, because I was talking about like just genre of music that I want to keep and continue working on. And he said, "Look, okay, like you're going a bit too fast in that part. I mean, he's not opposed to me like making songs like political songs or like um in favor of everything that's happening. But he says that like hold it right there. Like don't decide too fast on like a long-term future." But I think
what do your parents say about your politicization?
I don't believe I've spoken to them about my decisions for future, but they admire the work that I've been doing up until now.
Nice.
I mean, that is one of the things that I'm really happy about. Like I've canceled enough of those poisonous people of my life who, by the way, there were like a very few number of people. I'm really glad to say that. There were not many people that I had to like, cancel like interacting with,
What
both
about
online and
what about
offline.
online, Satin? Do you read the comments? Do you respond to somebody who's coming at you online?
I absolutely read comments. I do not respond to those who want to put me down, because I mean that has been my attitude like since day one. I don't express, or I don't get interacted with negativity, as I told you. And I do get offended, I do get affected by the way that they want to like hurt me or put me down, but I try not to interact with them, because I don't think it's professional on my part to do that.
Okay. Sadaf, are people around you, family members or people who've known you for a long time, surprised at your politicization, or are they generally on the same page and they've experienced the same changes you have in recent months?
I think they've generally been on the same page because this for me didn't just start 4 months ago. I think the path kind of started 4 years ago with the mass amini movement. So they were all used to seeing my posts online. Like I rarely posted any personal events or anything. Mostly my posts or stories revolved around the Shah or the Pahlavi family and everything like that. And the time for a change when it comes, or that when the situation gets to a conflict like this. So basically, I think it was not a surprise to my family per se, but to a lot of friends around me, who've noticing all these changes in me, like the amount of devotion or the amount of work that I put into this. Of course, a lot of them worry about my health because, we've all been sleep deprived, but like when the way I see it is like some of us choose to be in the control room, but some of us just choose to be the passengers. For me, it feels like with the organization that I'm with, we are like we have a lot going on. Like we need to organize things. We need to make sure things are going perfectly. So we are in the control room. So that puts a lot of pressure on us. But what makes me personally keep going is the amount of appreciation that I get. Like, I just receive messages, or like you see people on the streets like just randomly, and then they're all like, oh yeah, like we know you, or thank you for doing all of this. Like they're just so appreciative of what you do. So circling back to what we earlier mentioned about losing some people in our lives, I think we may have lost a few, but we have made friends, or we have a lot more people in our lives who share the common goal and they have the same value. And
Well,
that's really important to me. I feel like if anything in the diaspora, we've become even more united than ever before. Like this unity, this solidarity is unseen. Like, I mean,
have you
it's just
have
beyond.
have you been on Twitter? Have you been on X?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
It does. I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm not sure I see that solidarity reflected there all the time, or even on
Not a lot of
Instagram.
times,
Yeah.
but I think in the community you see it for sure. Like I mean, you walk in North Van and all you see all these stores with like the
Shooter
Lion
Fuzzy.
and Sun flag. Like everyone just all of a sudden feels to. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I feel like everybody's just nicer to each other. Like
I think it is, to be fair. I think it is the circles that you're in. I mean, I posted a video earlier this week talking about a survey that was done here of Iranian Canadians that showed incredible, like overwhelming alignment. Over 90% want regime change, over 90% support some kind of intervention, over 89% support Reza Pahlavi, and the responses were so interesting. I mean, that you could tell that there's some people who are just in a different bubble because they were like, I don't even know anyone who supports this intervention. It's like, well, okay, then you're clearly in a different group. So it does depend on where you're in. And the survey was, I mean, these are things all have a margin of error. It's not nothing scientific about it, but it does show general alignment for the community, which leads me to a question I wanted to ask. It's a good segue, Sadaf. Shiva, do you feel a stronger connection or more of a disconnect with other Iranians after the last 4 months?
Oh, definitely a stronger connection. Um, like I said, there were a few that sort of had to drop off, just had to leave aside, but definitely a much stronger connection to the Iranian community, to the Iranian diaspora. I haven't been able to speak to my family in Iran since the internet has been shut down, so I actually don't even know where my cousin is, where my aunt and uncle are at the moment, and I'm hoping they're okay and they're alive. But when I get a chance and when there are some strong VPNs, I get some direct messages from people inside Iran. But for the most part, the Iranian diaspora, uh, I've had I've been talking to them more than I've talked to my core group of friends who are not Iranian.
Hmm.
So it's definitely brought us a lot closer. And like what Sadaf was saying, that when I went to the rally in February, when the Crown Prince called for that rally globally, um, there was so much unity there. A lot more actually than I saw during Woman Life Freedom. So I definitely feel that too. And when you talk about things, when you educate people, like I'm sort of told by a few that you shouldn't do this. Also, it's risky for your career. But then at the same time, there are some people, Iranians and non-Iranians, a lot of non-Iranians actually who follow me and they're appreciating my posts and they're getting educated and they ask for it and they're thanking me for shining light on it from my own experiences and my knowledge and how can I stop when I see that? So
I think what both you, Shiva, and Sadaf have talked about non-Iranians, and I think it's fair to hold Iranians to a different standard than non-Iranians.
yeah.
There's a person, an acquaintance that I see in the gym in the mornings, and she's not Iranian, she's Canadian, I suppose, of I know British descent or something, but she. She's always sort of coming at me going, this is crazy. Don't you think Trump is crazy? And, saying things. And I don't, I kind of excuse it. I don't know if I excuse it, but I sort of go, I understand why you would have the perspective of thinking this is crazy or to think that we're crazy to want, to believe intervention has been a good thing or something like that. But if it's an Iranian, I'm less forgiving because I feel like you should know better. And I'm realizing that some of the debates, there was somebody, a few people in my comments that were sort of debating with me, and one person who was kind of, seemed smart enough, but we just kept on coming with like, no to this revolution, no to this, intervention's been a bad idea, no Reza Pahlavi, no, 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 no. And after a while I thought, this person wants the regime to stay in place, so that's the only conclusion I can come to. There's as a couple of you have said in this conversation, the lines are pretty clear. I mean, I know there are some people struggling with, no, I want the regime gone, but I don't like bombs dropping, and I respect that you can have those opinions, but when you're pushing to a certain point, it's like, okay, so you actually prefer the regime to stay for all of these reasons that you've listed, and then I'm not sure there's any conversation left to have. Is that, Satin, you're nodding your head. Does that make sense to you?
A lot, a lot. But I think most of that, and I'm not justifying their lack of empathy or like, I don't know, their insensitivity. I'm not justifying that, but most of that comes because of lack of knowledge. They're not educated about anything other than what concerns them. Most of them don't even know what the capital city of their own country is, and that's true.
I'm talking about
But
Iranians, though. You're saying that
oh, about
Iranians?
Iranians,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So yeah, totally, totally, totally what you said that is true because you know, I don't want to sound a bit, I don't know, I don't want to sound harsh, but it's not that if you don't accept Reza Pahlavi, you're not a human, or you're not a person who is in favor of Iran. It's just that if you don't choose Reza Pahlavi, there is no other option. Your other options are the terrorist regime of Iran, in Iran. I'm sorry. And so that is what differs us from them. Hence why I unfollow and delete them from my life. So yeah, you're true. You're right.
Have you, a second last question to all of you, have you found moments of unexpected joy? I'm going to put an asterisk behind Khamenei being killed because that's an easy one. But other than that, have you experienced moments of unexpected joy or resilience over the last 4 months? Because a lot of what we've been talking about is tough stuff and quite negative. But Sadaf, where does your mind go when I say that?
I can make a lot of examples of the times that I've felt so overwhelmed by people's kindness. I mean, just, again, being involved in organizing these rallies or events, you see people going beyond. Like, we once had this person who lives in one of the buildings right across where the rally was going to be held. Somehow this person found me on Instagram, or I don't actually remember how we connected, but this person messaged me and they're like, if anyone needs to use, I don't know, like my home for anything, like if anyone has a baby that they want to feed or anything, just let me know. I live right across here. This is, my buzzer number, da da da. I'll just buzz you in, whoever wants to come upstairs. Like, people inviting each other to their homes, to their private space without even knowing who these people are. People coming to the rallies, offering food, drinks or whatever, not even trying to advertise or market for their restaurants or anything. Just an act of kindness. Like, you see all these things and you get overwhelmed. Like, I've been overwhelmed a lot of times by just witnessing all of this. Like, is this really true? Like, are you really offering this to me? Even offering for people's parking tickets, like, or just paying for their parkings. Like, I know this person who, or actually, for the all the nights that we used to, or evenings that we used to go to the consulate, this beautiful lady who I adore, she kindly rented actually huge coffee containers to bring to the sidewalk. She
Mhm.
would put up the table herself, like
Hmm.
set everything up and offer just coffee or tea to everybody, just because we were all there, and it was there were relatively cold, not compared to Toronto, I mean, but still cold in here. So you see these things and you're like, is this even real?
Hmm.
Like, you
Nice.
you just you feel
Can
overjoyed
can
by
you
witnessing people's kindness.
can you introduce us to the guy who pays your parking tickets? Because
It's
that's
actually the same lady. She was like, I'll pay to. So she mentioned that to get her friends to come to the rallies, she offered to pay for
wow.
everybody's parking lots. Like, she would be like,
Mm.
it's gonna be on me. Like, if you want to park in downtown and it's gonna be expensive, of course, drive here. I'll pay for your parking, but please just come.
Wow, what a hero. Shiva, a moment of unexpected joy or resilience?
Yeah, there were two moments right after the first strike happened. We were waiting for so long, and this is obviously the Iranians who realized that we need the help. And after all that devastation, uh, the first speech that was made by President Trump right
Mm.
after the first strike, and I listened to that speech, and I literally melted on the floor right where I was. And I just sat down like this, and I was crying and laughing at the same time because it was the help that everyone was waiting for, and that intervention that was waiting for. And from his speech, I realized that going for targeted strikes to the regime, to IRGC. And that was sort of a moment of joy. And the second one was after the confirmation of Khamenei's death, seeing the people inside Iran have joy and dance in the streets after so many weeks of just, crying and looking at body bags. And that was such a joy to watch because it feels so nice to see some relief with the people inside Iran and seeing them have finally some joy after all this darkness. We still got a long way to go, but those were definitely the two moments that touched my heart.
Satin?
I believe we were at the same rally next to each other when they announced the confirmation for the death of Khamenei, and I believe that was the first time that I actually cried out of happiness. That was the first time, and after that, it's been like one after another: the death of Shamkhani, the death of Larijani, and all the many body bags of the members of Basij. That actually, it was a great revenge for what just happened. Oh, sorry. It was a great revenge for the days that we were witnessing, not witnessing, actually seeing the videos of all these body bags of the people who were killed in the 8th and 9th of January. That was a really ironic moment, and yet it gave me, I hate myself for saying that because, getting happy for the death of someone is not a really nice thing to feel. And that's something that I've been struggling with. But these people have done enough terror to our people that, change us into these people who get happy and start dancing and celebrate for the death of them. The tyranny they've done is unquestionable, but yeah, I think these were the highlights of my happiness and joy.
Let me ask you all a final question, which is, and I really appreciate all three of you taking the time and doing this today, and for being so honest about how these things have affected you. There are going to be people listening to this. I mean, especially when you're talking about February 14th and those amazing rallies and the joy after the death of Khamenei and Trump's first announcement, who will say, well, that was then. This is now, a couple months later. There's an ambiguous ceasefire. We don't know what's going on. There's a potential deal being made with this terrorist regime, so circumstances have changed. And, are you guys so sure anymore that you have these positions? If there's one thing that we probably can count on is that nothing's going to happen overnight here, that we're in this for a while, in terms of a sustained approach. If anybody had any illusions, and I think some people hop off and on and off the bus, you see people come to rallies and now they've disappeared. And I think once things look good again, they'll be back on the rallies. But for you three who seem very committed to this, I'm curious what you think we as a community need most to do to sustain ourselves emotionally and culturally in the coming weeks. Because there do seem to be a lot of folks out there who are exhausted. I don't want to suggest they're giving up, but you don't see the same kind of enthusiasm in some corners as you were seeing a month ago or 2 months ago. So in terms of sustaining this, what are you, and the changes that have come to you, what are you practicing or what are you preaching in that regard? Let's start with Sadaf and then Satin and end with Shiva.
I think since all of this started, I started calling myself the soldier of the Shah. So, and my favorite emoji is always this one. So if you are a soldier, yes, you will have to commit. You will have to even grow stronger. You'll have to build resilience because there's no, as you said, we don't know when this will all end. So as long as my leader is there, as long as my leader pulls through, I will have to be behind him, back him up, and just look forward, try to bring everybody on board just, basically making sure, like, yes, as like you mentioned, some people hop off or hop on occasionally, but just trying to show that I'm not gonna give up. And it's you're all welcome, more than welcome to join whenever you feel like it. It's okay to sometimes resort. It's okay to sometimes take breaks, but don't forget the final goal. This is the final battle, so we will have to pull through, and we will have to um, do the best we can to reach that goal.
اینا آخرین نبرده.
این آخرین نبرد. پهلوی برمیگرده.
Satin?
I understand that people are tired. I myself get tired of all the happenings that are like all our emotions going up and down like a roller coaster. It's exhausting. I do not deny that, but I feel responsible as a person who's started. Uh, I mean, I don't wanna sound like I'm praising myself too much, but I think I've achieved that title of being the voice of some of the people of our country, and I think I feel responsible to spread optimism and give enough good facts and information to the people. I always try to decipher what is actually going on in the bigger picture. I always keep telling my friends. I try not to write that because that is like not an official idea, but or opinion. But I always keep telling them, don't listen to what comes out of the mouth of Trump, and just look at the evidence. Look at what's actually happening around you and around this war and our country. I keep lifting up the spirit of those who talk to me and feel disappointed. There is not much we can do actually to actually like I don't think there's anything left for us to do to like actually physically bring people to the streets. I understand the exhaustion, and uh, I feel for them, but I'm doing what I think I can do best. I'm like making songs, trying to spread the news, and invite them into taking a bigger look at the bigger picture of what is actually happening behind the curtains, not what all these like I mean there's a lot of things going on, a lot of things are being said, but that's just I think the cruel game of politics, who I've been always, I've always hated politics for that, because it's just like that. Politics is like that. Like one day you get good news, your spirit lifts up. The other day you hear something that it puts you down. But if you take a moment and take a good look at the bigger picture, you see that the end is clear. It's just a matter of time. And that is what I'm trying to say
All
in
right.
everything I do.
All right. Final word to you, Shiva. Sustaining. How do we sustain ourselves?
I have tried switching off, to be honest, but I haven't been very successful at it because even trying to give yourself a mental break is another torture by of itself when I when I try to do that. So one thing that has helped me, because especially us in the diaspora, we're not just fighting one battle. You know, the people inside Iran, their focus is they just want freedom. They just want to be liberated. And here we are trying to fight so many other battles and prove so many other people wrong and educating so many other people who are trying to speak on behalf of Iranians. So there's that. And what's helped me is literally speaking to my circle of the Iranian diaspora who get it, and brainstorming. And sometimes we talk about our exhaustion. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And what should we be focusing on? What's more important right now? Do we address this? No, this is not worth it. Let's focus on the people of Iran. Do we address this person? So that's actually been me going back and forth with my people, that I call them my people now, because they're very supportive, and I'm very supportive of them, and we're sort of going into all into one direction behind this revolution and this movement. And talking to them and brainstorming of what to do next has been really helpful to me.
Shiva, Sadaf, Satin, I'm so grateful to all three of you. Thanks for making the time today, and I hope we can continue this. And I really appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
Khodafis.
Sadaf.
Sometimes the personal is very profound. Thank you to Satin, to Shiva, to Sadaf for being so forthcoming and honest about what they've been experiencing the last 4 months, how this war has changed them. Love to hear from you on how this war is changing you, how you've been feeling over the last 4 months and ways in which this has affected your life. You can email us at info@roqemedia.com, info@roqemedia.com, or you can post your thoughts on any of our platforms. We'd love to hear from you. We read your comments on YouTube, on Instagram, of course, on Apple Podcasts, Telegram, Spotify, SoundCloud, etc. This is Full Time for Roqe for today. Thank you to the amazing core team who put this show together each week, twice a week. Super P, Super Paris Sanjarani, Savvy Roham Meher, and the photo and video queen, Tina Farahi. Special thanks as well to Smart Pega, Charming Kimia, Talented Anihita, Methodical Kave, and the Rising Keon to all of you guys for your help. Thank you all of you out there for supporting us and sharing our content. You know, if you don't subscribe already on one of our platforms, it's not rocket science and it doesn't cost you anything. It's free. You can subscribe on YouTube or on Telegram or on Apple, on any of our podcast or YouTube platforms. You can find us on Instagram at Roqe Media. You can find me on Instagram at Jian Ghomeshi. And as ever, Mizun Bashi.